You have spoken to Republicans who have shared with you that they think that it's also impeachable.
There's a big difference between thinking that the Mueller report reveals conduct that is deeply disappointing, inappropriate, even borderline or actually illegal, and saying they would vote to remove the president.
Very little on this Russia probe, I'm afraid, is going to persuade people who hate Trump or who love Trump.
A Republican member of Congress became the first member of his party to call for impeaching President Trump. Congressman Justin Amash of Michigan posted his principal conclusions to social media, writing, "Attorney General Barr has deliberately misrepresented Mueller's report. President Trump has engaged in impeachable conduct."
Were you surprised to see a Republican, Justin Amash, saying so overtly that the president did engage in impeachable conduct?
I was surprised to see a Republican congressman saying publicly what I think many are thinking privately.
I respect him. I think it's a courageous statement. But I believe that to make a case for obstruction of justice, you just don't have the elements that are evidenced in this document.
The special counsel's finding is clear. Case closed.
And Democratic leaders are hesitant to call for impeachment, arguing there's no chance it would pass the GOP-controlled Senate.
Were you spinning for the White House to buy some time?
No, I wasn't. I think what they're really perhaps annoyed about is that they didn't have an opportunity to spin, and that the fundamental findings of the report were out there for everybody to see, and they were not in a position to spin.
Contrary to Barr's portrayal, Mueller's report reveals the president engaged in specific actions and a pattern of behavior that meet the threshold for impeachment, the congressman wrote. He even accused his fellow Republicans of not having read the report.
Those who have read the Mueller report cannot avoid the conclusion that the president and some of his absolutely poor advisors engaged in profoundly disappointing, reprehensible conduct that would rise to the level of an obstruction of justice charge.
President Trump accused Amash of having an ulterior motive, getting his name out there through controversy. He also tweeted, defending himself, no collusion, and ultimately no obstruction, adding Justin is a loser who sadly plays right into our opponent's hands.
Meanwhile, a federal judge has ordered the release of some of the material Barr's team withheld when the Mueller report was released. That includes possible contact between the White House and former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn.
There are a lot of serious questions that need to be asked. When did the Russia probe begin? When did it become hopelessly commingled with the Trump campaign? What was the factual predicate? Where are the transcripts, if any, exist between the informants and the telephone calls to George Papadopoulos?
I've been trying to get answers to questions, and I found that a lot of the answers have been inadequate. And I've also found that some of the explanations I've gotten don't hang together. So in a sense, I have more questions today than I did when I first started.
Some of what things don't hang together?
Some of the explanations of what occurred.
Why does that matter?
Because I think people have to find out what the government was doing during that period. If we're worried about foreign influence, for the very same reason, we should be worried about whether government officials abuse their power and put their thumb on the scale.